thank you to all the panelists for being a part of this. Let's just start by would you like to just spend 30 seconds in telling us what you do and what pain point does your company solve? Rishabh, you want to go first?
Hi, everyone. Does it work? Yeah, hi, everyone. This is Rishabh. A bit of an oddball in the entire panel. I'm a consultant. I'm a partner with Alvarez and Marcel. And we pretty much help both on the private equity advisory or M&A advisory when there are investments or acquisitions happening. So typically on the other side of the D2C brands when they invest, help them in understanding whether the brand would grow, whether profitability happen or not, all those areas. And on the other hand, we also work with a lot of corporates, D2C brands and companies to scale up over a longer term implementation program or reduce cost. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, myself Hitesh Rathi. I'm the founder of Advik Foods. So we are basically into non-bovine milk segment. That means like beyond cow and buffalo. So we make a lot of value-added products from camel milk and goat milk, and we supply across India and outside India. And pleasure to be here.
Hi, I'm Dheeraj from Campus Sutra. We are a youth-centric fashion brand. We are one of the biggest bootstrap fashion brand in the country. Happy to be here. Looking forward to this session.
Aparna, co-founder 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐼. We are in the ethnic fashion space, and what we do is we provide high quality, great selection, authentic handloom arts and crafts, from the length and breadth of India, available to customers globally.
Hi, Rohit Khaitan from Genesis. Genesis is a retail tech solutions provider. We provide ERP, point of sale, e-commerce, order management, and other solutions to manage businesses online and offline for various Indian brands across the spectrum from D2C to Omni.
Hi, I'm Sandeep. I'm a director of PwC India. So we are working in majorly in 4 segments: industrial products, retail and consumer space, healthcare, and on FMCG sectors. And I lead the e-commerce part of it in India.
Hi, my name is Anurag. I'm the co-founder of Pilgrim, which is a skincare, hair care brand, and we offer world's most powerful ingredients to solve Indian skin concerns and hair concerns.
Hi, this is Alicia. I'm Vice President Marketing for Super Bottoms. I take care of the key category there. We are a brand of sustainable baby diapering products. So our diapers are reusable. So the biggest pain point that parents have is the right diapers or the right rash-free products for their baby, which are safe, which is solved from Super Bottoms. And also we are sustainable, which is the need of the hour. So hence, the next revolution in diapering is Super Bottoms.
Thank you. I think I'll ask by asking Aparna and Dheeraj first, because and my question is this, that for a long time, D2C brands have been doing well. And every brand with the kind of size that you both are growing at, people say that after a while, D2C has to go and start occupying a physical space. And that's the only way you can grow. What is your view on the business? I mean, they say that if you can continue to retain profit, but profitability doesn't grow at the same pace that it used to in the initial stages, especially for some of you who are very profitable. Do you think there's still ample headroom to grow in the D2C space? Or do you think to change the trajectory of your revenues, you need to start embracing the physical space today?
So I think basically the new buzzword around going offline, right? I know this might be a little controversial, but अभी तो काफी कुछ investors के लिए हो रहा है. मतलब that's the way I see it. कि यार online grow नहीं कर रहा तो obviously you do offline, and that's how you show numbers, right? We embarked on the offline journey 4 years back, and for us, offline has never been about achieving numbers. It is about being relevant to the customer, right? So for us, when we started our offline journey, and now we are in about 500 locations across Shoppers, Central, Brand Factory, Trends, and all of that, it was about being or kind of coming in the consideration set of a customer who's walking into a shopper stop and is looking for a, I don't know, hoodie or jacket or whatever, and he sees your products with a Jack and Jones or UCB, you start becoming more relevant for that customer. So that was the idea when we started offline. I'm still not very convinced that offline is the answer for growing revenue. Offline is a very, very different business, and at least that's what our experience has been, than online. The expertise that is required to run an online business, the skill sets that your company builds, is very, very different from what you require to run offline. In fact, in a lot of things, they are contradictory, right? Just to take an example of fashion. In online, you have the ability of kind of, churning your styles faster, being more relevant to the customer, being agile. But offline, you have to plan your inventory 18 months in advance. Online, you want to consolidate your inventory. Offline, you're sending it to 1,000 locations. Online, you want to pick up trends fast and kind of, be able to change and get that input and all of that. Offline, that's not possible. So if you see a lot of offline guys, say a Shopper Stop or Lifestyle, they have not been very successful online. And a Myntra, while obviously they are the gold benchmark in online, whenever they have started stores of Roadster or some of these other brands, as far as I know, they have not been as successful as a Shopper Stop, right? So they're two different animals, they're two different beasts. Just doing offline to kind of drive revenue, I don't think is the right strategy of going forward. You obviously have to be relevant to the customer, you have to show your assortment, both online and offline, but just using offline for driving number, I think is a bad strategy, one. And offline growth is very, very slow. Unlike online where you can go from X to 10X, if you get certain things right, offline that does not happen. And I can say that with a certain amount of authority because I started my career with Walmart, I spent 6-7 years there. And it's a very slow game, it's it requires that drill. So no magic happens on offline, right? So I think you need to be very clear in terms of what is the motivation of going offline. And if it is the right motivation, it will work. If it is just about कि online में growth नहीं आ रहा, ROAS गिर गया है तो offline कर लेते हैं, I think that's calling for trouble.
I like that logic because I'm a bred in the wool physical retailer. I found online very complicated, and from what you tell me, it is different for you. So it's interesting. Aparna, what about you?
Yeah, so you mentioned complicated, right? So our customer base, so we have a very different business model. Our customer base is 95% international. So, had we been restricted to a brick and mortar model, we would not have been there, right? So what do we do? How do we break that barrier for the customer to go from a traditional, see, touch and feel kind of a look to, shopping from their home? We make the customer journey very, very seamless, right? So for example, somebody in Sydney at the comfort of her home, she's wanting to shop for her wedding. She's able to share options with her mom, let's say, who's somewhere in India, right? With a brick and mortar store, it's not so easy. She's able to shop, she's able to order a blouse for herself, we're able to tailor it and send everything within 3 to 5 days. It's as good as it can get, right? So we make the customer journey very, very seamless. And one thing in that industry, there is, especially in the handloom, arts and craft space, is very less penetration of technology. And I think that's where we are really disrupting. I worked for Microsoft for 10 years, so one of our strengths is really deploying a rich technology stack, not just making the front end easy for the customer, but making it very easy, very optimal and efficient on the back end as well.
So let's move from fashion. I mean, we've got Advik, we've got Super Bottom, we've got Pilgrim, FMCG, beauty and personal care brands. Your segment is very different, and as I spoke to you, I was surprised that none of you really have a subscription model in place, or maybe I've got it wrong. But tell me, what are your daily concerns as far as profitability is concerned, and what is the challenge in getting a robust business model in your category? You want to go first? Yeah, sure.
So I think our category is blessed with extremely good gross margins. Most players in the category will operate between 55-60% going up to 75%. Even the players who offer good quality, we also operate at a 70% plus gross margin profile, which means that generating a healthy CM2 at a channel level is normally not a challenge. until unless you decide to grow exponentially faster for whatever reasons, internal or external. If that is not the case, we have almost always been, had a high double-digit CM2 profile, close to a break-even for most parts of our journey. Having said that, I want to jump in on the offline conversation which was happening. I think and this is, from our experience in the BPC category, fashion category and clothing apparel could be very different. It really depends on the growth aspiration of how large the brand wants to be. Today, online is clearly offering the opportunity to be at least a couple of 100 crores if there is a PMF which has got established, if there is consumer love, if the product is getting well accepted across the length and breadth of the country. So if you want to be a 300, 400, 500 crore brand, I see no challenge in our category like BPC to be EBITDA positive, generate a double-digit EBITDA and be only online. Beyond that, the market is evolving. Today, I am not aware of any brand which does more than that, or I don't know if there is a market which is ready as of today. But this was not the case 3 years, 5 years back. By the time, a brand hits 300, 400, or 500 crores, the market would have moved further. Today, online beauty market is estimated to grow between 25 and 30% year on year. So even achieving a higher, top line is possible with a healthy margin profile. Having said that, India shops offline finally. In a category like ours where it is very online friendly, even then 80-85% of sales are offline. Categories like color cosmetics where we are not present today, it is a lot more offline friendly than online. Finding out the right foundation shade, and the women in the audience will understand this better, is such a task even when brands are offering 10, 15 and 20 shades, right? So these are categories which are a lot more offline friendly, and women would like to try out the products. And as online brands, we try and, emulate the experience as much as possible to make it, to, do texture Thursdays and, get UGC content going to explain what kind of sensorials and textures and fragrances are there. But beyond a point, you can't substitute the offline experience only by online. So if the aspiration is to be a 1,000, 2,000 crore brand, I think offline is an integral part even for our category. And profitability can be managed across all channels. It's really the brand's intent. So whether it is D2C, whether it is marketplaces, whether it is offline, within offline there is, modern trade is different, general trade is different, general trade assisted, non-assisted is different. Each channel, P&L, at least that's how we look at it internally, can be managed profitably if you're doing the right things.
I find speaking to you interesting because, you're the one who said that it's difficult to lose money in my business. So that is, very few of us can do that. And my next entrepreneurial plan is to get into your business.
Or invest with us.
Oh, lovely, yeah. What's the price at? Okay,
Offline.
Alicia, you want to tell us?
Yeah, so for us, how we have grown is, it is mainly D2C for us. We have a good community. We have a brand which, our audience loves. So there's a lot of brand love with Super Bottoms, with whatsoever the customers we have. So that is our starting point, like the brand love. And within us, there's a community. We have created a community on Instagram, on Facebook. We have like 70,000 people on our Facebook community, which is a closed community. So that gives us a lot of leverage to explain the product because we are a new category. We don't enjoy that privilege that people know what the product is. People know diapers, but they don't know reusable diapers. The concept is completely novel to India. And it is a category that needs explanation, that needs education. So for us, it is important to create awareness. And even if we want to, keep our CM2 positive, at times we have to spend. Because if we don't spend, there's no one else creating category for us. We are the category leaders, we are the category creators. So that from that point of view, we have to spend. And we are sure at one point, we will be able to achieve what we want to, because the idea here is changing the habit which is inbuilt, and to get someone to try a new product. And we know we are very sure of our product, and we have a 50% repeat rate. So we know that we are a good product. So that will happen eventually. But for us, at this point, it is also important. Organic growth is important. But we will need to create category. So that is also something that at times we need to do if you are a new category, because no one else is going to do for you.
Thank you. Hitesh, making money is easy in your business, Advik, milk products. And it's very interesting the category you have, because you're probably one of the very few players in this country in that category.
So first of all, definitely not easy. it had been about 7.5 years since we are into this thing. And as a co-panelist, she said that, category creation, this is what we have been doing. We are India's first company to introduce camel milk-based products. And we had to face questions like, ye camel doodh bhi deta hai kya? When we started. And like questions like, ye to theek hai, kaam kya karte ho? Now people are asking ki what are the benefits, how should I consume it? So I think there's a big shift. I think I'm only the food guy in this panel. So changing food habits is very difficult. You need to have some patience and perseverance in order to make that possible, that you are just able to sustain yourself. And I think profitability is there are two things basically. One is what you earn and one is what you spend. So for us, what thing we can control is what we spend in the initial time. So I still remember when I was starting, so I went to a broker in Delhi में कि जगह बता दो, work from home type का चल रहा है, कि वो he said कैसा चाहिए, 1 कमरा 2 कमरा, सबसे सस्ता है वो बता. So that should be the mindset when you are starting. Because profitability not only, because in our case it is not possible from day one you are getting lakhs of revenue every month. But yes, you can control your expenses so that your company is alive for the next day. That is what we have been doing, and people now startup is more becoming like a fad. I would say people, the MSMEs, so they work on profits. So what we can do is that in the times to come, we need, I would say, more camel startups rather than unicorn startups, which are resilient, which can survive in difficult situations. COVID was tough for us also, but we managed to do that. You need to have your basics right, and just FOMO is very, very strong factor, but you need to control yourself. That's it.
Okay. We've got 3 gentlemen from the consulting and tech space. There's Sanjay, there's Rohit, and there's Rishabh. And my question to you is, you obviously work with a wide array of clients, and what are you seeing in terms of your client base? What is it that drives profit? What are those clients doing better? And what is the kind of advice that you give to these clients? Because I know when you're in consulting, you often give advice to clients. Clients absorb everything, they pay your bills, and they almost never execute on those plans, Those all become beautiful PowerPoints which are, headed over to all the heads of department, and, but I want you to tell us a little about your experiences in this space. Rishabh, you want to go first?
All right.
Sanjay, you want to go first?
I'm Sandeep.
Sandeep, sorry, you want to go first?
I can. So I'm going first, okay?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very tricky question, first of all, and I represent the tech part of e-commerce implementation, and I work with our strategy partner who shows all the fancy PPTs to all our customers that the revenue will become 5x, 10x, all that, and I am the responsible person who make that happen. So somebody commits and somebody has to execute. Executor is me. So what I have seen as I work on different verticals and I see how D2C is becoming sometimes stagnant for some of the brands because they are not understanding the meaning of D2C. So D2C is not about having a channel. It's not about just a website bana diya or mobile app bana diya and you are done. So as she told that it starts with trust. It starts with brand trust and love. Then you get the first party data, which generally is the main main blocker of having a D2C channel, that you do not have to trust on any third-party data. Third one is digital marketing automation. People does a lot of nudges, people create a lot of digital marketing campaigns, but they do not know how to do that automatedly so that you can create that right nudge at the right moment. And the last one is that having a proper customer experience. So across all the verticals, wherever I have seen that customers have faced this issue that they have not got profitability, they actually have no business model or no purpose of making that D2C brand. And another thing which I've seen as D2C brands have some niche categories at times, like razor category, cosmetics category. So when one particular business model becomes very successful, So many competitors start coming. So if your audience is limited, then there are a lot of people trying to get the same pie from you. So that becomes a challenge. So then what we suggest as a consulting partner, that you do not stop innovating, because you have to think that you have to give something hatke to your customer. Please do not think that whatever you have developed or have you innovated last year will work this year, because everybody knows everything. So people, and as a statistic says that 63% people in APAC basically looks for a brand who solves a purpose. And 75% people actually look for competitors also. So you cannot have a brand loyalty just like that if you are not innovating. So this is my key takeaway from the consulting background.
Rishabh, you want to go?
So, I mean, the question is interesting because what we found is that, and we work a lot with companies to execute some of the thoughts being laid on the table, more longer term programs. What we've realized is most companies don't do the basics on a daily level. And if you just do those basics on a daily level with the right discipline, I think those make a hell of a difference. Classic example, you have an offline model, for example. I'll come to D2C as well. The sales guy needs to go to the counter every week, spend 5 minutes on the counter, enable with technology which can actually read what those counters sold last time, sell more, make sure stocks are right, and come back and do this every week, every day with the counter. And that has to be basically planned, executed, and reviewed. This cycle, you'll be surprised, is missing in most companies going offline today. These are some very basic models. We spoke about ROAS, right? ROAS. ROAS is great, but what next after that? What's your return on the campaign? Do you measure that? People don't measure that. The fat to spend is high because you're going to get awareness, but are you spending in the right place? Do you make sure after that campaign is measured? Do you have a campaign dashboard which tells you ROI on various kinds of campaign? You experiment for 12 campaigns, you know 3 works. Do you repeat the 3 or you repeat the 12? These are some very basic hygiene stuff. And if you look at some of the most scaled up platforms today, they've done all this very right. And what we realize is that just doing this on and again creates a lot of a difference rather than actually experimenting with a lot of new things. Innovation, another point that we spoke about. Innovation has always been done consumer backwards. When you are in the business of creating consumer brands, there has to be a need-based innovation coming consumer backwards. But you need to be cognizant, if you have too many of them, then you actually will burn more. How do you stabilize one and then innovate for the next? You can't innovate every quarter. You need to innovate probably every 6 months if you have some base ready. Some of these basics that used to drive FMCG, which has also come to D2C, are actually coming back. And we see that in most of our work is not necessarily to build 4x scale in 6 months. Our work is if you do some of those basics, the growth naturally follows. And I think that's probably a slightly different point of view, but that's something we've seen work very well.
I think that's an interesting perspective. Rohit, from a tech viewpoint, how easy is it to now sell tech? I know at a point of time, entrepreneurs would say, no, we'll do it when we hit that scale. Something is expensive, but what do you see today?
I think some of it is still true. A lot of people, they do opt for marketing tech first. I think because most D2C brands first will go for marketing tech because that is the need of the hour. And they think about inventory and accounts and those reconciling their receivables much later. But I think brands which are always planning to be profitable early, they do invest in proper inventory management, proper warehousing systems faster than other brands. And that's a pattern that I've seen repeat quite often with successful brands. So I can give an example of a brand which started offline, ventured and started their D2C brand. They became pretty successful. They're doing more than 100 crores online right now on their own platform, mostly essentially. And their main business model is around focus on the customer and what the customer wants. I think brands which have not done so well, they start treating the consumer more like a Google algorithm that, okay, if we optimize for this keyword and if we optimize for that and so on, and we bring this consumer. So eventually you end up getting so lost in your own marketing, maze, that you lose sight of, am I selling the right product to the right person, and is that product actually still solving the problem that I wanted to bring this consumer for? I think that's when that link starts breaking and you kind of end up losing money. I think consumers, brands which are successfully repeating, giving value to the consumer every time that the consumer hits their website, I think that's or at least does a transaction, I think they've been successful and been profitable, or at least close to profitable. That's key.
Super. One of the questions I want to ask the entrepreneurs here is, there's a lot of emphasis that we always pay in terms of marketing school, build the brand. But out there, when you're in the digital space or you're in the marketplace, it's almost like a dog-eat-dog kind of a space, because everyone is competing on price, And so how do you as entrepreneurs balance that this is the kind of investment I need to do on branding, and this is what I need in terms of ROS and, final throughput? Dheeraj, you want to go first because you have a large array of brands in your portfolio.
Yeah, sure. So the basic tenet is, we strongly believe that at certain price point, everything will sell, right? Idea is आप 100 रुपए में शर्ट बेच रहे हो या फिर मतलब at certain तो कुछ भी बिकेगा. The equation needs to make sense. Or if you are spending 500 rupee to drive 200 or 300 rupee of sale, it will sell, right? But does that make business sense? So that's one. And second, I think especially online or overall, taking the price route is a short way of self-destruction. I mean, this is what we have seen. If you look at fashion brands, especially in India, over the last 10 years, I cannot think of maybe more than 5 brands which have survived for 10 years, right? The new age brands. There are brands which come, do 50 crores, 100 crores, and then just wither away, right? But if you just look at a 10-year horizon and see how many brands have hit scale, when I say scale, at least 100 crores plus, and have sustained for the last 8-10 years. I'm sure across categories, men's, women's, सब कुछ मिला के भी 5 से 10 भी ज़्यादा 10 नहीं होंगे. So, pricing cannot be a cannot be a strategy to gain market share. We are not in the network business. We are not in the business where there can only be one Flipkart or one Amazon. Even Zara in Spain has a less than 10% market share. So most of the D2C brands, no matter what category you are in, you're not going to have a 50, 60, 70% market share. It is always going to be in fashion, maybe, in single digit, in maybe beauty personal care, it may be 10, 15, 20%, but it will not go beyond a certain, percentage point. So there, making the business kind of make sense is more important than just revenue and just kind of reducing price and all of that. And being bootstrapped, we never had the luxury of throwing money either on discounting or on advertising. So, यदि 100 रुपए का बेच रहे हैं तो उसमें 10 रुपए बनने चाहिए. I mean, that's the basic premise. And then you make the other things in the equation work. You make the price work, you make the product cost work, you make your marketing work, and you make your other cost structures fall in place. So once you are clear that this is how the equation has to be and you have to make money, then things start happening. At least that's what has been our experience. That if you look at it as from a business perspective and from a perspective that it needs to make money, you will make it happen.
Can I add to it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there is a myth, if I may, in the industry that, if you burn more, you're going to grow faster. But, that's not really the case. If you have the luxury of, very deep pockets, you can burn a lot of money, kill competition, acquire more customers. But, what if you don't have deep pockets? What do you do, right? Especially when you start out with. So that's when you have to be, fiscal prudent and, spend in ways that, you have more mileage, right? Even in our own case, we grew 12x. We grew 12x by, while at the same time being cash flow positive since day one. So it really is that, you don't really have to burn to attain profitable hypergrowth. I think, adding on to what you said, I think you really have to see where your spends are, right? How much are you spending on COGS? How much are you spending on your marketing? What are your operational costs, everything else? And then the key is to optimize. The little things, for example, employee cost, all of that, don't compromise on that. But the big cost, where you can really, 1 or 2 changes that you can make that you save a lot of money, I think that's where you should look at. And that will drive profitability.
Thank you. In Pilgrim,
I want to add
yeah,
a few points here. I just want to have 3 mantras which we generally suggest to our customers. Like pricing is definitely one of the factors we always are concerned about, be it your implementation charge or customers buying products from any channel. But 3 mantras we do follow generally when we do consulting. One is that, what is your addressable market? Second is your customer retention. And third one is your CAC versus CLV. Because what we have seen that if you have retained 5% of your existing customer, your revenue margin will be 25% more. So it is not about always acquiring new customer, but giving the existing customers more benefits using your own strategy, which you all are experts in. And also sometimes what happens is that when you do CAC, a lot of customer acquisition cost, sometimes though we are D2C, we do not have any middlemen, but we still have a lot of expenditure on all of these expenses, which are sometimes doesn't compensate the CLVs also. So that means we really have to make sure that we have proper retention and proper nurturing of those customers to make sure that happens. And price is something people do not consider. If you give that value, give that trust, give that sustainability, a lot of factors which are there like organic products or all those factors which people are very much concerned these days. So I think we can mitigate that. So we are not a person always bargaining or negotiating. If the value is given, then we really forget about that.
Yeah. I would also want to add here. So for us, we are a premium cloth diaper. There are other Chinese diapers which are available on Amazon at half the cost. But still, if people are going for the brand, that there's a reason. They know there's a support behind it. They know that other people are also trusting the brand. They'll get a benefit out of that product and they will get that support that is needed. Brand is not about only the price or the product. It is also about the back-end support that you will get. You know that you will not get from the other brand. That is why a person will buy from you and maybe not even from Amazon. They'll come and buy on your own platform. So we have certain policies which are only on our platform, like a free trial policy we give only on our platform for first user. We don't give for Amazon. So you'll have to see how your price will justify for the product that you are selling. You can even beat like half the cost of your product just because you are giving something better to the customer and they will trust you for that and they will come to you for that. So that community, that brand love, that brand trust is very important and then the price will justify itself.
In Pilgrim, how do you balance? You've got brand which is very, very important, product performance, and you've got pricing. I mean, how do you balance these 3 imperatives?
So for us, one is that when brands are starting off in the 0 to 1 journey, I don't think brand investments are required. You're figuring out other pieces of the puzzle. As you go from your 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 journey, performance marketing spends have to come down and brand investments have to go up. And how do you really differentiate what is performance marketing and what is brand? Because finally, online, there are only 2 platforms where all the money is going. So if you have to look at the traditional funnel, which digital marketers understand even better today, of awareness, consideration, sale, and then post-purchase. Performance marketing will optimize for the audience which is in the bottom funnel and a little bit in the middle funnel. Brand spends will get spent equally across the funnel. So it will not only open your top funnel, it will reach out to audiences which are not aware about the brand and which is not looking to make a purchase of the category, forget of your brand today. It will reach out to the middle funnel, it will reach out to the bottom funnel, and it will also reach out to the past purchasers with equal intensity. While one of the primary goals for most brands in the growth stage will be to drive awareness, and there are good surveys available. Earlier these surveys were a lot more expensive because these were done offline. But now for a couple of lakhs you can measure brand awareness scores, and there are some technical jargons like Tom score, Spont score, all of those. As you grow on your journey from 1 to 10 and 10 to 100, some of these score tracking becomes very important. And not just awareness in terms of what the brand, whether the consumers know about the brand, but also what do the consumers think about your brand and what are the associations they have with the other brands versus what are the category associations they have. For example, for beauty, if consumers are today saying, I want natural products or I want high efficacious products, and there could sometimes be a dichotomy. Where is the competition placed and which is the attribute you want to stand for vis-a-vis what is important for the consumer? For example, if the consumer is saying price is the number one criteria for me, then you would rather stand for price. It's not the case. For most categories, price is never the number one criteria. There are other criteria which overshadow. So your brand spends have to get measured over a period of time. We typically do it twice a year. Performance marketing is easier because you can measure it on an hourly and a daily basis. And there is some overlap, obviously. Performance marketing will also lead to some awareness, some consideration, and all of that. But these can largely be segregated, and they have to be looked at separately. We have dedicated brand marketing budgets on which we don't measure ROAS. And to give you a sense, today, earlier it used to be as high as 20-25% of our top line. Now it is 10 to 15% of our top line. That is looked at very differently, and it will lubricate the performance marketing funnel over a period of time, but that's not the primary intent. The primary intent for us for this calendar year is to drive awareness, and those measures can be made using certain brand tracks.
So linked to that question, and this question is open to all, I think in D2C, we're always talking of ROAS, we're talking of cost per click, customer acquisition cost. Do we need to start looking, I know these are very important metrics, but there are lots of other things, free cash flow, full margin sales, inventory turns. What are those other KPIs that you also look at in your own businesses, which you feel are as important?
So I would go first. I think for any bootstrap company or when you're trying to be profitable, so cash flow is very important, first of all. And second thing is that inventory, what you are holding up. So in case of fashion, I think perishability is not an issue, but in case of food, it is there. So how do you manage that? So that is something which helps you to become better what you are right now, because ROAS and that thing, it's very trackable. Other things we need to take care of, like FIFO needs to be followed. For example, in food, you cannot sell older product, things like that.
Dheeraj?
Yeah, I think
you need to go a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, sorry. Especially fashion, right? Fashion business world over is made or broken by inventory, right? There used to be a company called Wankel in China. Show of hands, anyone knows about Wankel, heard of Wankel? Yeah. At one point of time, it was bigger than Alibaba in China, right? The valuation of Wankel was in billions of dollars when, Alibaba was less than $1 billion, right? They had $1.1 billion of inventory, which kind of, was not selling, and that killed the company. It was about a $10-11 billion company, and this is like early 2010 or something like that, right? So in fashion, inventory is, I think, make or break, but it just does not start and end with inventory. It is, as I was saying, everything. And one of my fellow, panelists was talking about killing the competition. I think this is a misnomer. If there's one advice or one thing that I would like to share is in D2C, you should and you cannot kill your competition. The competition will do well or kill itself, right? Because the market is so big and it is not winner takes it all, right? Unlike a Amazon, Flipkart game or a cola game, right? Where any loss or gain for Pepsi is a gain for, is a loss or gain for the other. In D2C, that is not the case with most of the category. So if somebody is buying a Campus Sutra shirt, it's not taking the share from somebody else. If somebody is buying a Pilgrim, beauty product, it is not taking a share for somebody else. Even the most established brand, even in a FMCG category, does not have more than 10-15% share. So you have to look at how your balance sheet, how your P&L, how your business metrics stack up. Don't think too much about competition in D2C. I think that's one thing that we have seen, and so we don't look at competition at all. We look at competition maybe to get ideas, to understand what's happening in terms of trend, but we don't base our business strategy or we don't base our business decision on what the competition is doing.
Sure. So one question and my last one, because we're running out of time. But before that, Rohit, if you can just tell me what trends are you seeing in terms of technology in the last year or so, and what do you think is changing rapidly?
So one key trend that we saw, I think a year and a half back or 2 years back, is a lot of integration between various systems, because brands, they went in for various technology for various parts of the system, and they wanted a lot of integration. So I think that trend will continue to grow. and due to which we've launched our Genesis One platform, which is like pre-integrated a lot of the pieces. But a lot of people are looking at technology as, what is the value that it is bringing rather than the technology per se. I think that's when, it gets more interesting. So I think overall, when you see the spend, it's trying to control the technology spend to a very, very small percentage of your overall expenditure. I think that's kind of healthy for everybody. Trying to move to a subscription model and trying to keep it very, very low.
Thank you. My last question to all panelists, and I want you to answer it as honestly as you can. At these seminars, we all look nice and cool and relaxed, like koi tension nahi hai. Everything is going well. But I know as soon as this is over, we'll all be frantically checking our WhatsApp, missed calls. So there is something that's going under the surface, okay, with all of us. And so tell me, in your professional life, I mean, what is it that keeps you awake at night, or at least doesn't let you sleep at the hour that you want to sleep?
Yeah. Would you like to?
No, you can go in any order.
Yes, because it happens quite often. So
Camel milk.
no. The first thing is obviously the creditors. Like your vendors, suppliers.
Yeah, only an
pay to them.
entrepreneur knows the pressure of
Yes,
creditors.
and
Yeah,
then salary. So the timer is there. It's 7th of month, so I have to transfer the salary. If there is anything which is blocking that, it becomes a problem. Other thing is in the food industry, regulatory bodies. Means like in the compliance point of view, means tax authorities or this thing, means still you are under the radar. Everything is fine. Once anybody shows up, and now people can order from website or Amazon, and they can file a case or something like. There are too many things over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jaideep, I think, I've seen my father, grandfather, do business, right? One thing that has changed over the last 20, 30 years is 20 years back when my father was doing business or my grandfather was doing business, 90% of the things used to be controlled by the entrepreneur, right? The dependencies were less. Especially in the kind of business that we are in, I think the clock has turned. 90% is dependent on Zuckerberg uncle, it is dependent on Mr. Kalyan, it is dependent on, XYZ, So the number of things that you control as an entrepreneur has completely changed, right? So I think what lets you sleep is, you can't let your sleep cycle be defined by the business. If you do that, you'll burn out. I don't think you can survive in this high pressure environment ever. I still tell a lot of my friends who want to get into business that, and I have spent 6-7 years in corporate world. Maybe I was earning 1/10 of what I'm earning now, but life was much more peaceful. So unless until you're like really passionate and you want to do this, don't do it for money. It's very, very taxing. 90% of the things are not controllable, especially in the kind of industry that we are in. They are dependent on the outside where you have zero control. So unless until you are really, really passionate and this is the only thing you want to do, don't get into business.
I think this whole question of what keeps you at night, I've seen for a bunch of my founder friends, or let's say even clients, this definition has changed over a period.
No, tell me what keeps you awake at night.
So for me, for example, when I run my business as a consulting partner, for the biggest thing is how do I keep up with the change? Because every time you meet a new person, you realize that the problem statement has changed, which means you need to adapt. Classic situation, people talk about AI, technology, all of that, which is making us as knowledge partners more redundant. How do you keep up with that pace is the biggest threat that we have, and that keeps us awake, honestly speaking. And that's what I said, the definition has completely changed from what it was a problem statement, let's say, 12 months back to where you are now. So I think that definitely keeps us out.
Okay, I think we've got a minute and a half, so we're just in time.
I'll keep my answer very simple,
Yes.
very straightforward. Our operations happens in India, but our customer base is global. That's what's keeping me awake. Very simple.
And my point is that I have nightmare once this flashy PPT was shown and I have to deliver.
For us, the biggest focus area is the team. Is the team feeling aligned and motivated what the company's vision is?
I think there are too many things. There are too many things I can't even point out at one, but there are so many things that get on in your head. But at the end, you realize that you have to sleep also for the next day. So I think sleep is important. Just sleep. I sleep for 8 hours. I don't miss my 8 hours. So that is very important for me to get ready for the next day. your mind also needs to sleep. So you need to do that mental switch. And I also listen to a lot of many things for a peaceful mind. So I would also suggest those.
Rohit, you're trying to avoid the question.
No, I'm not. There are so many answers. Solving for the next customer challenge, I think, because in technology, it's like every day the landscape totally shifts. So it's the way to solve it also shifts. So I think when to solve it and how to solve it is a very tricky problem, and that keeps us awake, keeps us going as well.
I think we've got 12 more seconds. Thank you, each one of these of you for being here. Thank you, the audience as well. We might have time to take a couple of questions, quick ones, yeah? Because I think time is of essence. Yes, ma'am.
So as we are starting a brand or we're creating one, so on the initial period, there's a lot of money that goes into different aspects. Some of them are recurring, of course, like marketing. So like in the today's generation, it's very important to be seen on Instagram. Like, in order to maintain your page, you need influencer marketing, you need content, you need graphic designers. So there's a lot of money that goes into that. So how do you optimize that? Because I'm sure everybody has an Instagram presence, not just Instagram, any other social media content, for example. So how do you optimize that? How do you create a customer base through social media, ensuring that you do not, like, delve in a lot of money into that?
Can I answer that? Yeah. So initially when we started, it was like 4 years back now, we hardly had any team. There was a 5-member team and we used to do almost everything. And today, I think on social media, it is easier because you need a person face. It's more than graphics, like a designer that you mentioned. More than that, you need actual face. You need product in action. That is so easy that you guys can do on your own. It is easy to do. It's the time that you need to do that. You need to take out that time and do it. But otherwise, I think from the cost perspective, it is easier to do on your own. And also in case, there are freelancers, if you want to just freelance one thing, you don't need to hire a high-end resource. There are so many freelance tools also available. There's Canva, there's so many tools out there that are available today to get this small things done for us.
I have another answer here. So I was working with one of the bag companies here, Bag Retails. So you know that brand, I do not want to reveal that. So this brand is creating custom bags. Custom bags means based on your travel requirement, you will be giving all those needs, and then somebody will be preparing that. That idea came from their social media. And so that's how one business model was built, because of the exposure of the customers directly to the brand. So that's very important.
Yeah. UGC.
I think we can't take any more questions. Time is up. So once again, thank you very much. It's been a very enlightening session. And thank you all for having us. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.